This is a story of one family torn apart when one of their children makes a claim that ultimately causes trauma for them all. You can decide who's telling the truth and whether the state's actions were in the children's best interest. It's a quiet spring night in Indianapolis, in a blue-collar neighborhood on the city's south side. A phone call earlier in the day has set off a chain of events. Captured by MSNBC cameras, it will prove to be some of the most sensitive videotape ever recorded for television. The call has brought a child welfare investigator to the home of Carrie and Michelle Pitcock. Michelle's 13-year-old daughter, Amber, has accused her stepfather of abuse. He claims it's Amber who is causing the family turmoil. You will see the drama that plays out over the next year shows what a fine line there can be between protecting parents' rights versus the welfare of children.
You just wanted me...
Well, we need assistance because we have to go up there and we weren't sure how this guy was going to be with the whole situation. The CPS coming in because we have one of his children.
This is the most gut-wrenching part of a child welfare investigator's job.
She's already at the hospital where his other child is, so we're here to talk to them about that situation as well as the other two remaining kids in the home.
Well, I'll just stay out your way and let you handle your business. No problem.
Jackie Bean is following up on a report from a 13-year-old girl who says her stepdad hit her. At 9 p.m. on a school night, Jackie shows up at this Southside Indianapolis home to check out the story. She and her police escort have no idea what to expect once they're inside.
Did you call the police? How did that come about?
It started, I didn't know at first. Last night, my wife went and got her from youth emergency groups.
Carrie Pitcock is Amber's stepdad. He says he and his wife Michelle are at a loss about how to handle their teenage daughter. They say she's running wild and out of control, and that tonight is a perfect example.
Well, she decided to kick and push on my wife. Well, that's when I stepped in. Well, when I decided I was going to stop her from being abusive to my wife, she started kicking me and biting me and told me to get the F off of her. I wasn't nobody or nothing.
Okay. So you stepped in?
I had to step in to keep my wife from being abused, yeah.
And then she was hitting you too? And she kicked you?
I mean, I still have marks on my chest, and I got, well, you can see here where she bit me. I mean, this is what we're going through. But yet she's the one hollering abuse, you know.
Right.
And
so did you hit her tonight?
I smacked her in her mouth for telling me to get the F off of her. Yeah, I did.
Did you smack her once, or about how many times do you think you hit her?
Twice.
Twice?
With an open hand. I mean, It was my finger. I mean, it was the tips of my fingers that hit her.
So you hit her twice. Which side of the face? Just on the mouth?
Well, I cupped her face. I mean, it wasn't even a real smack. It was a cup.
Okay.
Then get some milk.
Did you smack her today in the face or anything?
No.
Because she's got some bruising above her head and on her nose and down her face here.
That's from being hit in the wall. That's from...
Yeah, I notified the counselor last night.
Uh-huh.
The foster kids she used to hang around with told her how to do things like this.
The Pitcocks have been a blended family of 5 for 10 years, but the last year has been especially tough.
My 7-year-old Carter, she gets into it with us, she will take her fist and hit herself or hit herself against the wall to put marks on her to try to get us.
Okay.
And my 7-year-old was a witness to that. And the counselor last night, she wasn't informed of things like that. But no, she wasn't hit by neither one of us, not hard enough to put a mark on her.
Let me show you the picture I took of her. I mean, it doesn't show it much, but she's got a lump on her head, and then she's got some finger marks down here, and then bruising under her eye.
Now, the red rash, that is a constant thing with my...
It looks like a rash.
That is a constant thing with
Yeah,
her.
but she's allergic. Definite hand marks there.
Yeah, well, she's allergic to chicken. We think, because every time she has chicken, her face does that. We got chicken.
As police stand guard at the front door, Carrie nervously suspects he's about to be arrested.
What's the other officer doing here calling him out? I hope they ain't planning on pressing charges on me.
About what? What about it?
And she's hollering abuses. The cop called up, looked at me, and rung her out. I hope it wouldn't come down to this.
Well, definitely. I mean, because she's got some pretty substantial marks on her face. Now, I know you're saying that she did them herself. I mean, I'm trying to remember because it would be on her left side, and it looked like maybe somebody had hit her like this way or something.
The only time she got smacked when I was detaining her, she told me to get the F off of her, and the way I was laying, there's no way that I could have hit her like this because it would have been across her like this because I was laying crossbody like this and had her detained. And she told me, and she got one arm loose, told me to get that off. And the only way I could hit her was like that.
Okay. Okay.
So I mean, my finger, if it was from the fingertips, it'd be on her left side of her face, not her right.
It is on her left side of her face.
Over here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. She wouldn't have got them from here because, like I said, there you can see the bone in my hand how it's broken, and there's no way I could hit her with enough pressure to bruise her nose with that hand. I'm sorry.
I'm going to give you these because we're going to have to go to court on Monday for her. And I've got one for your wife too. I'll leave these on the table.
So I got to be
for
there
her.
Monday?
Well, since she's your
It's been almost an hour since Jackie's arrival. She's made it clear Carrie will have to explain himself to a judge before Amber can come back home.
I'll be following it with the judge. And I am going to write in there that it looks like you guys hit her. So be prepared that when you get to court that you will have to explain yourself to the judge, because I'm going to say child stated that the father hit her. And she does have marks and bruises on her face and some swelling as well. So Office of Family Children is saying that you hit your child. Now I understand from what you're telling me that you did not hit her hard enough to leave a mark or a bruise.
Right.
That's something the judge is going to have to figure out, okay? And, you know, depending on what the hospital says tonight, too. If she has a broken nose or something, that's going to be a problem.
It's only been a matter of hours since the crisis escalated, set in motion with a phone call to police from Carrie and Michelle asking for help with a daughter they claim was out of control. Now, Carrie is about to be blindsided.
I've never hit my child in an anger enough force to do any kind of bodily damage. Okay. Never.
Okay. Do you mind if I look around the house a little bit?
Go ahead.
So just who is telling the truth tonight? Is it Amber, who has accused her stepdad of abuse? Or is it Carrie, her stepfather? At this point, Jackie doesn't know for sure. And that's why what is about to unfold will shake this father to the core. Just how far can the government go?
I've got a problem here with your other two kids, too. Because of the marks on her, I don't see how she could have done that herself.
Carrie Pitcock's 13-year-old stepdaughter, Amber, is in protective custody at a local hospital tonight, with cuts and bruises she received just hours earlier. She says Carrie is responsible. Carrie and his wife, Michelle, say Amber is a teenager out of control, and she is the threat to the family. What's the real story? That'll play out later in juvenile court. What's about to happen tonight will come as a complete shock to Carrie Pitcock, who believes the worst-case scenario is that he'll be spending the night in jail.
Now, I've got a problem here with your other two kids, too. Because of the marks on her, I don't see how she could have done that herself. She's got a handprint across her eye here. She's got finger marks. She's got bruising across the nose and bruising on her head. So I'm going to have to take them with me tonight, and then you have to go to court on Monday.
Oh, wait a minute.
And I know you don't want to hear that as a parent.
Oh,
but
wait a minute.
That's what we're going to
Wait a minute. My daughter's causing problems, and you're taking the rest of my kids away from me?
Well, because of the marks on her,
Man.
I can't leave two other kids with the risk of them being injured.
Well, wait a minute,
as well.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Won't you check my other kids and talk to my other kids and give us the benefit of the doubt before you take my kids out of my
Well,
house?
I've already talked to the supervisor about it, and she looked at your daughter and talked to your daughter as well, and she told me to come and get the other kids too. So.
Oh, now see, this is where, I'm glad you're here. This is where, as a parent, we are getting railroaded. I've got one kid I can't see no more. Now you're telling me I gotta fight and prove myself to keep my other three? When I got one that's doing everything she can to defy us and run away from home, and she's costing me the rest of my kids? I'm sorry, I do got a problem with it.
And I know you.
Investigator Bean fears Pitcock's younger children are in danger, yet there is no talk of taking him into custody.
I know you're in
Why
shock
don't you
right
ask
now.
my kids if they want to go?
Because they're not of age to tell me that what's best for them. So we can't leave it up to
But
children.
you can go by one girl's word, and even though I've been through the system...
You know
and
what? If she didn't have these marks on her face, if you had smacked her on her bottom, something like that, we wouldn't have these marks. But when you hit a kid in the face, you risk leaving marks like that. Now, I understand you're saying all you did was hit her in the mouth, but she's got marks on her eye and on her forehead that she couldn't do herself.
But there's a thing as child abuse. Is there a thing of parent abuse?
And
Okay,
that's
because
something for you to
what
deal
we
with
have
juvenile
gotten.
court and through the police. For
But
you
that
to
gives
press
you a right
charges
to take my
against
kids.
her.
I'd rather you
But-
lock me up than take my kids.
I understand that.
No, you don't understand, ma'am. You ever had your kids taken away from you? You ever lost one?
I'm sorry about your loss.
No.
There's nothing I can do to change that.
No, I'm saying, you don't know what it's like for somebody to take you. Have you ever had somebody take your kids out of your house telling you ain't a fit parent?
Right. And
In the midst of this chaos and tension, 4-year-old Brent at least appears to be lost in his own world. But he will soon be swept up in the ordeal. Meanwhile, his 7-year-old brother Carl is sound asleep upstairs in his room.
now what we can do is both of you can come over tomorrow afternoon at 1:30 if you want to visit with the kids and see them, make sure they're okay and safe and stuff like that. That'll help put you at ease slightly.
Wait a minute. Why don't we? Okay, let's see if we can find a medium. Fine, my kid. Oh, you can't put my kids in somebody else's custody for the night?
I'm sorry, but that's what we're gonna have to do.
Oh, this is flat out bull. No, you don't understand. No, you don't understand.
Do you want to get your older son and bring him down? I think it would be better for him if you guys did it rather than me going up, waking him up and bringing him down. But it is up to you. I'll go get him if you want me to, or you can go get him.
I'm not pushing this.
I'm sorry.
Mommy, I'm not
You got no right. Now I know why you brought the law out here.
See?
You are so full of shit, ma'am. You got no right taking my kids. None. You got a 13-year-old adolescent out here running the streets, running away from home, controlling what happens to the rest of my kids.
Yeah. Have to come to court on Monday at 10. And at that point, you will have the right to an attorney when you get there, and you have the right to a hearing, which is what we're doing.
Rights.
Well, no, this is what I'm giving you right here is about the rights. The detention hearing, 48 hours, we'll be doing that Monday. You have the right for a court proceedings and petition. I'll give you a copy of that Monday.
I take a picture.
And you can ask for an attorney then, or
You
you can bring one
need to
with
get
you.
out of here. You need to get out of here and let my wife bring my kids to you.
Okay. I'll leave it.
As emotions boil over, no one knows what Kerry will do when his boys are taken away in the middle of the night. And ultimately, whose best interest is actually being served?
You can't live with me no more. And you ask her why.
We're going to go spend the night someplace else tonight.
She's taking you. I got to fight to keep you. You may not be allowed to come back home.
I want to stay with Daddy.
No, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like. I ain't pulling no punches with my kids.
Okay.
Never have. You got no right. Now I know why you brought the law out here.
Kerry and Michelle Pitcock are in a state of shock. An hour ago, Kerry assumed police and child welfare officials were here to haul him off to jail. Kerry's stepdaughter Amber claims Kerry beat her earlier in the day. Kerry claims Amber was out of control. He and Michelle were actually the first to call police for help. Now he learns the truth. They're here to take away his other 2 kids. Tonight is a tough night for child welfare investigator Jackie Bean, too.
You will have the right to an attorney when you get there, and you have the right to a hearing, which is what we're doing. Well, no, this is what I'm giving you right here is about the rights. The detention hearing, 48 hours, we'll be doing that Monday. You have the right for a court proceedings and petition. I'll give you a copy of that Monday.
I take a picture.
And you can ask for an attorney then, or
You
you
need
can bring one
to
with
get
you.
out of here. You need to get out of here and let my wife bring my kids to you.
Okay. I'll leave this here then. You can't bring the puppy.
Come here, Brent.
Come on, sweetie.
This lady's taking you away from your parents. You can't live with me no more. And you ask her why.
We're going to go spend the night someplace else tonight.
She's taking you. I got to fight to keep you. You may not be allowed to come back home.
I want to stay with Daddy.
No, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like. I ain't pulling no punches with my kids.
Okay.
Never have.
You don't have to. Hey, baby, get your shoes on, babe. We're going to go for a ride. We're going to go
They're
over
taking
someplace
you
else
away,
to spend
Carl.
the night. And your mom and dad are going to come to court on Monday.
Because Sissy said Daddy abused her. So now this lady's taking all you
You know
kids
what?
away from me.
You take my stuff. I'll pick one up. You pick the other because this is full. Excuse me.
Here.
Hey, sweetie, come on. I'll help you put your shoes on. How are you? Oh my gosh, you're heavy. 7? You're big for 7.
While 7-year-old Carl is still in a daze, Indianapolis police are in the kitchen trying to calm Kerry before his children are taken away.
I'll show you pictures of my puppies when we get to work.
I think my puppy.
Can you do it?
Puppy. Ow.
Will you let Charmaine take the puppy? Yeah.
They cool with you.
No, she's gonna put him in the cage for us, or leave him there.
I would take alcohol and take.
I gotta work. I can't get out of work. Go see my kid.
You know how to tie your own?
No, I gotta have 24 hours notice once you get me. So maybe once I get fired.
Ooh, good job. See, you're better at this than I am. You give your daddy and mommy a kiss?
As Carl and Brent are taken away from the only home they've known, they and their parents have no idea of the turmoil ahead.
Technician to 1332 South Silver for pictures.
I'll get you back. I promise.
Hey, Brent.
Okay.
Okay.
You will be home. I'll find a way.
Okay.
I guarantee you'll be back.
Oh, you're too big.
One way or another.
I can't do it. I'm dropping you.
Bullshit.
Letter or anything?
A distraught Carrie vents his frustration to our producer.
This is bullshit. These motherfuckers didn't tell us. Now I know why the cops said they need a assistant for that. Would have walked around and knocked your head off. Walk up my house, take my kids.
Brent wants his toy rabbit. Does the other little guy have a jacket, maybe?
Yeah, they all got clothes. My kids ain't mistreated.
I understand.
No, you don't.
Okay.
You have no
I'll
idea
take
what the
this
hell
one.
you're doing.
Sorry.
The two boys face a long night, and investigator Jackie Bean has hours of phone calls and paperwork.
We worry about removing kids needlessly. You know, it's like if the kid's not in any danger, we don't want to remove a 4-year-old from his home unless we have to. And with the sibling, the 13-year-old saying, okay, yeah, I am worried that he will hit them as well. He has hit them before. He yells and screams at him. He's, you know, and so we can't leave a kid in that situation.
At the heart of her case is 13-year-old Amber, who also has no clue about the months and years of chaos this one night has brought on. When a parent is accused of child abuse, there are no easy solutions, and often it's the most innocent of victims caught in the middle. According to the Child Welfare League of America, nearly 60,000 children are removed from their homes each year for their own protection, even though they are not alleged to have been abused. We are going back inside the home now of an Indianapolis man accused of striking his teenage stepdaughter. What happens to him and his family offers an unprecedented view of child abuse investigations and the difficult choices caseworkers face.
I'll get you back. I promise.
Taking a child from his parents. It is one of the most intrusive acts our government can make.
I'll find a way.
As difficult as this removal is to watch, it raises a critical question about our society. When is too soon to remove or too late to protect a child? Child welfare investigator Jackie Bean has to walk that fine line when she crosses the threshold of Carrie and Michelle Pitcock's home. A home with a frustrated stepdad who Jackie suspects may have crossed the line from discipline to abuse of his 13-year-old stepdaughter.
I got one child that does everything there is wrong, and she takes away what's right.
Carrie's tirades do no good. It's a Thursday night, and unfortunately for the Pitcocks, the courts are closed on Friday. It will be Monday before they face a judge. It's now 11 p.m., and Jackie Bean is in charge of finding a foster home for Carl and Brent in the middle of the night. The fate of 3 children hangs in the balance, and one judge will decide how things go from there.
No sleep, wondering what the hell's gonna happen. And they give me papers and I still don't know what's gonna happen.
Carrie is faced with a dilemma. If he signs these legal papers, he admits hitting Amber. That could speed up the process, but Carrie feels strongly that his actions were justified as a parent. If he doesn't sign, the court process could take even longer. It's clear the events of this long weekend have shaken Carrie, but he's optimistic his family will be back together soon.
Right. If I don't sign it, we take a chance on going to trial. If I do sign, we take a chance on getting them back today.
So are you going to sign, do you know?
I don't know.
Parties the matter of Smith and Pitcock, Court 3. Smith and Pitcock, Court 3, please.
By law, child welfare court proceedings are closed to the public and media. With exclusive permission from the Indiana Supreme Court, MSNBC cameras follow along inside the juvenile courtroom of Judge James Payne.
Cause numbers 2001 JC 3445 and 6. Amber Smith, Carl and Brent Pitcock will show the Division of Family and Children hereby counseling case manager.
Jackie Bean.
13-year-old Amber sits motionless across the room. Amber hasn't seen or talked to her parents since the night of the alleged abuse. It was Carrie and Michelle who called the police that night to report their daughter was out of control. When police arrived, Amber was taken into protective custody with bruises on her face. She currently lives in the Children's Guardians Home, a shelter that houses at-risk kids. From her seat in the courtroom, Amber refuses to look at Carrie and Michelle.
You've received a copy of that petition?
Yes, sir.
And ma'am?
Yes.
You've each had a chance to read through that petition?
Yeah, read through it. Completely understand it. No, yes, we have read it.
Even though Carrie maintains Amber is at fault for causing the chaos in his family, he signs the legal papers admitting he hit her. As Amber's parent and legal guardian, Michelle is also required to sign the papers. Carrie and Michelle realize they'll have to go through counseling, but they also hope their admission will speed along the process to get Carl and Brent back soon, hopefully today. Judge Payne isn't so sure.
You're each agreeing to do some things, and Mr. Pitcock, let me go through yours first. You're agreeing to have a parenting assessment and follow through with recommendations?
Yes.
You understand that once I sign this agreed entry, it becomes an order of the court and you have to do these things?
Correct.
You understand what will happen if you don't do these things?
Correct.
What?
That we be found in contempt of court and the children will be taken immediately if they are in our possession.
Judge Payne has no jury in his courtroom. He is the law. His 20 years on the bench helped prepare him for difficult cases like this one. But there's no exact science to human emotion.
I'd like to tell you that we're expert at doing all of that, and that with experience, with training, with understanding human emotion, with reading people as they come in, that the answer is always right. But it's not. These are your children?
Yeah, the two. One of them in question is my stepdaughter. The other two are both of our children.
Whose job is it to raise these children then?
It is both of ours. They are.
It's not our job, is it?
No.
No, sir.
That's
You understand it's your job to raise these children then?
yes. Okay. That's what we are trying to do, and unfortunately, we have one that that did not want to follow the rules, and that's the reason we are in the situation we're in today.
Well, I've seen the pictures, and there are ways to enforce rules and ways not to.
I understand that there was some pictures. When I was seeing the pictures, it was not very clear what happened. You know,
Counsel, do you want to show these to him, please?
I was showed one picture. I do. That's not something I could see that I did at the time, Your Honor. I'm not an abusive parent.
Amber watches as Carrie denies responsibility for her bruises. But where are Carl and Brent?
Where are the children, and what is your recommendation?
Amber is currently in the Guardian home. Carl and Brent are currently in emergency shelter care. We are requesting relative care and foster care for all three of the children, Your Honor.
Is there anything you'd like to say about where the children should be at this time?
I would request that they be in our care. I mean, I don't have a problem with the situation they asked, to be supervised and go through the program. But I would request that my children, my two youngest ones, be returned to me as soon as possible.
Participating in court-ordered programs is one thing. Completing them is another. And that can take weeks, sometimes months.
Ma'am, is there anything you want to say? He's doing all the talking.
I want all my children home. But, things just got a little out of hand before we could get everything set up to get the help that we need to keep this family together.
So who should Judge Payne believe? A tearful Michelle or a visibly bruised Amber sitting in front of him?
You are Amber? You need to say yes or no, please.
Yes.
You understand this?
Yes.
You understand you're going to follow someone's rules?
Yes.
Okay. You understand right now you belong to me?
Yes.
And I'll make the decision of what happens.
Yes.
You interested in going back home, or you want to wait and see what's going to happen?
I'm not interested in going back home right now at the moment.
You understand that I'm going to make that decision?
Yes.
Okay. You don't make the rules here, I do. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right.
The hearing has lasted long enough for Judge Payne.
Right now the children belong to me, and I'll decide when they go home. I will listen to the case manager and the attorney, but also you in making that decision. But primarily to make sure that you work with the counselors. As to Amber, I'm going to take control of her. All right?
Amber is overwhelmed by the court proceeding and prefers to be left alone. After the hearing, the Pitcocks and Jackie Bean come face to face for the first time since Jackie removed Carl and Brent from their home.
The situation, the way it appeared, partly because of the marks on her face, I was going in with the thought that I'm probably going to have to remove these boys as well.
Innocent bystanders are paying a price for one kid that has pushed things a little too far and
what
caused
happened
something
is
that
maybe
may
the
not be
child
intended.
pushed things a little too far, but in reality, somebody smacked that child. I'm sorry.
That's what I said.
And I understand where you're coming from, that this kid pushed it, but it's not. When it comes down, you're the adult, she's the child.
Carrie and Michelle now know Carl and Brent won't come home today. They accept the boys will instead have to stay in emergency foster care and work with Jackie to place them with relatives. They feel certain that Carl and Brent will be returned long before their next court hearing in 30 days.
Stuff going. And hopefully by the time we go back to court, by the next hearing, we will be able to report to the judge that we've already placed the kids in your care because we have positive recommendations from.
With their first court date behind them, Carrie and Michelle rush across town for a supervised visit with Carl and Brent. The night the boys were removed, Carrie and Michelle were promised they could see Carl and Brent the next day. That visit never happened. It's now been 4 long days.
Ready? Remember where the toy room was? All right, go see your mom and dad.
How you doing, baby? Evening. You okay? How you doing?
I can honestly say they don't look like they've been just put away and not anybody taking care of them. Need a haircut. I now realize how bad they need a haircut.
The kids will most likely, if the relative is approved, the kids will go with their grandparents. And if it's fine, then we'll send the kids home to grandparents tonight.
It ain't getting me. So you ready to go, boo-boo? You ready to come home? Why not?
Because
Why don't you want to come home?
I want to stay with Tony.
Why?
Because
Juice.
Juice.
Want to go? You come with me now.
Apple juice.
Tell mom, dad, bye.
Bye.
Hope you see him soon.
Jackie and her supervisor end today's visit, but will have good news for the boys.
Go get some juice. I love you.
I talked to Crystal out there at the relative's home, and she thinks it's going to be okay for the kids to go there tonight. So she's going to bring the relatives here to pick up the children.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So
they get to go to the relative's house. So.
This isn't Jackie's only case. This is just one of 40 open cases for which she's responsible at this moment. Child removals in Indiana, however, are rare, only about 100 each year. After 4 days of chaos in this case, things finally seem to be settling down. It will prove to be short-lived.
I would rather not go back home because of the fear of getting hit again. I mean, because if it happened twice, nobody can say that it's not going to happen again.
I can be very quick to handle.
Yeah,
You know what?
because you're the parents.
I don't have a problem handling it. If you guys would have stayed out and let me bust her ass like I should have, she wouldn't have been on the street. They're taking you away, Carl.
And your mom and dad are going to come to court on Monday.
Because Sissy said Daddy abused her.
It's not an easy job to go into anybody's house and take somebody's children away from them.
Because if it happened twice, nobody can say that it's not going to happen again.
For more than 2 months, these scenes have played out in front of our cameras as we document the nation's first videotaped emergency removal of 2 children from their home.
I'd rather you lock me up than take my kids.
The removal sets off an agonizing process for the Pitcock family, state caseworkers, and Judge Payne, who has the ultimate authority over when Carl, Brent, and Amber will return home.
I need to make sure that if the children go home, it's under the right circumstances.
For now, Carl and Brent live with their great-grandparents. Carrie and Michelle get to see their boys twice a week. Even though the boys are with relatives, Judge Payne admits there is unknown trauma ahead.
Because the harm that happens to children upon removal sometimes, and in many cases, is worse in their mind than what happened to them regardless of how serious we look at it.
I want to stay with Daddy.
And what about 13-year-old Amber? She's told her parents she wants to be placed in foster care with Carrie and Michelle's former neighbors, a couple her parents strongly object to. But that's exactly where Amber is today.
The first resource we have is extended families, relatives, who the children are familiar with. But the next best are foster parents. We can find buildings. We can find big places to put lots of kids, but that's not best for kids.
Carrie and Michelle split their time between their own home and visiting the boys at Carrie's grandparents'. They complete drug assessment classes, anger management, and continue in family counseling. So why doesn't Judge Payne return the boys home?
The system is overwhelmed, and so we can provide case managers and we can provide opportunities, but having enough resources to provide whatever may be necessary to solve the problem. The problem is sometimes that can take months.
And hopefully Amber.
Everyone involved in this case admits it will take even more time to figure out what's best for Amber. After all, it's Amber who accused Carrie of abuse. And there are hints that there is even more conflict to come for these stressed-out parents.
But it seems to me like she's asking me to choose. And regardless, I love my husband, but I would always choose my child over my husband. Always.
And what about the people who have to make life-altering decisions under extremely stressful conditions?
It's not an easy job to go into anybody's house and have a parent who's in the situation that you've already been in these past years yourself, to take somebody like that's children away from them. That's a hard thing to do to anybody. That's something that I never, ever like to do, but it's something that sometimes we have to do because our ultimate goal is to protect the kids.
90 days. That's what it took for Carrie and Michelle to complete court-ordered counseling. 90 days, the time it took for the state to report to Judge Payne that the Pitcocks were fit to be parents again. 90 days, the number of days Carl and Brent spent in relative foster care.
Hey, you want to go out back and see the puppy? Yeah.
Now, exactly 3 months after the traumatizing night they were taken away, Carl and Brent Pitcock are finally back home with their mom and dad. Even though the boys are back, Amber remains in foster care. No one can say for certain when or if she'll ever return home.
16 plus 16 equals 32. 32, yeah.
We've been tracking the progress of the Pitcock family for more than 2 years. It's no surprise the chaotic events that started with Amber accusing her stepfather of abuse and ending with the removal of her brothers from her parents' custody had an emotional toll. Amber went through a year of intense counseling before she returned home. And after months of trauma, turmoil, and finally getting everyone back under one roof, the final chapter to the story may or may not surprise you.
You really want to know? Divorce? This was all this anxiety about and everything, put the final punch on it.
Hopefully the kids will be, they'll be fine, and well, it's not a likely chance that the two of us will be together, but we'll still be in contact with each other because of the children. But that's all you can really hope for, is that, the kids are doing well.
Shortly after that interview, Carrie and Michelle Pitcock divorced, sharing custody of Carl and Brent. The boys stayed with Carrie while Amber moved back in with her mom. What happened to the Pitcock family highlights the debate raging between parents' rights advocates and child welfare professionals about what is ultimately best for the kids. It's impossible to know what might have been if the state had never stepped in this case.